Hello, Bronwyn Lund here from BronHolm Tours. This is the second in a series of films about Bornholm's round churches. And today we're going to go and have a look at Nylars Church. We're about 5 kilometres inland from the large town of Runic on the island of Bornholm. And we're just going to walk through a little bit of forest and then along the path so we can get a good idea of what the church looks like before we go in and have a look at the church. So I hope you enjoy the tour. The reason why we're starting in the forest is because it's actually quite a windy day, and I wanted to just start the tour in a sheltered area before we go out onto the bike path and get hit by the wind. Now the bike path is actually an old railway track. I'm not sure if you can hear my voice above the wind, but I'll do my best. And just in front of us to the left is a field of canola, and on the right is a field of wheat. And I did a film about 2 months ago where the canola was actually bright yellow, absolutely fabulous colour. And the problem was that the camera I had at the time was having stabilisation issues, so the footage that I took is very unstable. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and put in 10 seconds of that footage so you can at least get an idea of how amazingly yellow this field was. If it doesn't succeed, I'll put it down in the closed captions that it didn't succeed. But I'm going to give it a go when I get there. Here we have this absolutely incredible field of canola, and I don't want to damage the farmer's crop, but I could actually imagine that it would be quite an amazing experience to just walk through this field and over to the other side, to the farms over the other side. But we're actually not going to do that. I'm going to turn to our right and walk down to Nylars Round Church and go inside and have a look in the church. Now, Nylars Round Church is one of 4 round churches on the island, and it's actually the oldest one according to the records. Now, on the right hand side you can see the church, and as I said, it's called Nylars Church, and new means new, obviously, Nylars, and Lars is a shortening of the name Lawrence, or Laurentius as he was called in Danish. They used the Latin name. So Saint Laurentius was a very popular saint in the 1100s, and that's about when this church was built. And we actually have another town on the island, on the east side of the island, on the west side of the island, on the east side of the island, called Oosterlars, and that means Eastern St. Lawrence. And so Oosterlars was the eastern town, same name, and then this town also, but it must have evolved somewhat after Oosterlars because it's called Nylars, even though the town has probably existed for around a millennium. We're going to turn right around this tree and walk up alongside the graveyard of the church. Directly in front of us is the bell tower, and that would have been built slightly earlier than the church and would have been used as a lookout and as a place to store the weaponry. And the reason for that is because during the medieval period, Bornholm was pretty much under constant attack. Because of its strategic location in the middle of the Baltic Sea, it had a lot of trade routes running through, which meant a lot of taxes and customs and income for various church and royal treasuries, and a very rich agricultural and fishing history. So Bornholm has been an island that has been coveted by many different groups of people. And so the church was not only built for religious purposes, it was also built for defence. We're just going to go around the back of the church to get an idea of how it looks from the outside, and come around to the bell tower. And the top floor of the church, when it was built, would have also been used as a lookout, so you could see your enemies coming. And the church was considered a place of refuge. So when the town was under attack, people would run to the church as the point of last defence. Now, we can't go upstairs and see the inside of this church, but I have made a film of Nylars Church, which is much larger than this church, and all 3 floors are open in that church. So if you'd like to see sort of what the second and third levels look like, get an idea of that, then check out that film. So we're just coming around and to the front of the church. The porch of the church would have been built a lot later. That's probably only about 200 years old. In we go. So this is the main altar of the church, and we can actually see that there's a column going up the middle of the church, and that continues all the way up, supporting the church from the inside. And you will have seen that there were buttresses supporting the outside of the church. The church was built around 1165 and was dedicated to St. Nicholas. The old Danish name for Nicholas was Nylars, which has developed into the present name of Nylars. 3 stories are built of fieldstone and with window and door frames of limestone. The original defensive systems are largely intact. The decorated south door is well preserved, and the porch is from 1879. The church first belonged to the Archbishopric of Lund, then came under the Danish crown at the time of the Reformation. In the 19th century, it became fully independent. The 3-storey circular structure with a diameter of 11 metres was originally unlimed. The oval-shaped chancel and its apse were constructed at the same time as the nave. Unlike the round churches of Oosterlars and Ols, whose masonry is supported by buttresses, Nylars is solidly constructed with walls up to 2 metres thick. Originally, the church had 2 doors, one for men and one for women. The northern women's door was first replaced by a window in the 19th century, then completely bricked up in 1973. Measuring only 52 by 27 centimetres, the small window in the northwest corner behind the stairs up to the gallery is the only completely original Romanesque window in Bornholm's round churches. So that's the window up there. Oh, it's very tiny. You see the stained glass just behind the pulpit there. The lower section of the separately standing bell tower was probably once used as an entrance gate. Remains of the west door could be seen in the west wall. A niche on the upper floor probably contained a door leading to a staircase, as at Oosterlars. The belfry is a later half-timbered addition. There are 2 bells. The smaller one is from 1702 and bears the stamp of King Frederick IV, while the larger bell was cast on Bornholm in 1882. The nave is covered by a ring vault supported by the heavy central pillar built of limestone from Lemanskill near Ulkerkeby. That's a town in the centre of the island. The apse, lined with limestone flags, has a high half-domed vault in which 5 holes in the shape of a cross can be seen. They dissimulate clay pots some 20 centimetres deep, which were apparently designed to improve the acoustics. Okay, the chancel was not used for defence like that in Oosterlars. Okay. And actually the stairs are, we can go up, so let's go up and have a look. It says entrance at your own risk, and I'll just make sure I don't bang the camera on the roof. Right, so there's a centre. It's very dark. I don't think it's going to be possible to see very much, but I think it will be good to have a look up at the ceiling. Just see if I can get my phone to have a bit of a look around. Get the torch on. Just be a little bit careful of my footing. But if we look up at the ceiling, it's much lower than the walls at Oosterlars Church. It's a much smaller church. But I find it interesting that the description says that this was never used for defence, because these are very Why would you go to such an enormous effort to build this, which is clearly an arrow hole? So people must have at some stage used this as a defensive structure, because why would you build a window like that unless it was for shooting arrows through? So I'm afraid I have to dispute that little description, but if anyone watching this knows better than me whether this was used for defence or not, then please leave a note in the comments, because I'm very curious to understand why you would go to all the effort of building arrow slits in a very thick brick wall and not fire an arrow through it. Right, I think we've come to the end of the tour here. Yep, that gets a little bit too dangerous to pass. So we've come around in a full circle again, and we're heading back down the precarious steps to the nave, and then we'll go back down into the church proper. So here we are in the porch, and one of the things I love about these porches in these churches is that they actually have a list of all the priests or all the vicars who have looked after the church or looked after the parish since the Reformation. So this is actually from 1521 all the way around, and on the right hand side to 2018, when the last the priest who is currently, or the vicar who's currently in charge, started. And here we actually have two rune stones from the Viking era. And it says the early Viking age, approximately AD 800, saw the first erection of runic stones in Denmark. Usually runic stones are set up in memory of dead noblemen or fallen warriors. In spite of their brevity, these stones yield much valuable information about society in those days. They may tell about relationships, the position of the dead man in society, his occupation, military events. About 40 runic stones have been discovered on Bornholm. Apparently the tradition of setting up runic stones did not become common here until it had ceased to exist in the rest of the country. On the stone to the left of the door stands, Corba Sven set up this stone after his son Bersa, the good man, was killed at Ulenga. May God and St Michael help his soul. The island Uleng is the southeasternmost island at the coast of Blekinge. The sea battle where Bersa was killed is not known from other sources. The text on the stone to our right reads, Sassa set up this stone after his father Elvard. He was drowned out with all his sailors. May Christ help his soul in all eternity. This stone shall stand. That is to his memory. The snake heads at the bottom of the runic stone may be a picture of the Midgård serpent, which, according to tradition, ate drowned sailors. So there you go. There's a little bit of information about those two rather impressive runic stones. They're just massive, aren't they? So that was a tour of Nylars Round Church on the island of Bornholm. This is Bronwyn Lund signing off from BronHolm Tours. Bye for now.